Episode 9, Pregnancy and Organic Beauty for Mummy, the Bump and Bambino. In this episode, we're going to talk you through the organic beauty industry and pregnant mothers and how this becomes relevant and actually incredibly relevant during pregnancy. We're going to talk about the pitfalls of products that you are inclined to use while you're pregnant and what you should be looking at instead. We're going to talk about whether you can in fact get rid of stretch marks, whether you can prevent them, should you be using aromatherapy oils, and should you be going to spas and having treatments while you're pregnant. And we're also going to dip into the post-pregnancy and once Bambino is out, what you should start to do with its newborn skin.
So the obvious question, given that Charlie's just turned 2, and it's been a while since your last pregnancy, why the focus now?
I've been quite busy. In truth, this has been coming and on my very big to-do list since Charlie was growing inside me, and I started with fervour researching and testing out every pregnancy treatment I could while I was pregnant with him. There'd been such a big gap since I'd had Layla, and so when I fell pregnant with Charlie, I was like, this is the time for the Pink's pregnancy concept. One of the things that Pink's boutique excels at is we have always found the niches in spas. Manicure pedicure was our first starter. People do it badly. They don't do it well. And the other thing that I genuinely believe is done badly currently in the UK, if not global spa industry, is pregnancy. You turn up to a spa as a pregnant person and there is one treatment, always and only. So every brand, Decleor will have one pregnancy treatment, Elemis will have one pregnancy treatment. That's your lot. Or maybe you'll be allowed a manicure or a pedicure. It's pretty uninspiring for the fact that your body's going undergoing such huge changes, and in actual fact you could really do with some help. So first of all, I meant to do it ages ago. Secondly, I think spas are doing it badly. And thirdly, I had a phone call a few months ago from a really beautiful spa, which often ends up in the top 10 UK spa list, Cowley Manor. And the spa manager and operations team there knew that we were good at making treatments and had this same thought process themselves. And so we've been working over the last couple of months of actually taking pregnancy, shaking it up and working out how you really could do it to the best ability in the spa world. And hence it is back on the top of my list.
About time. And then following on from that, why is organic relevant to pregnant? Like when and how? Obviously, it's a big part of our life, but why should other people be considering it?
It's a really good question. And it's why, in honesty, they contacted us first. One of the things that's really intriguing about falling pregnant is people that have never considered organic as a way of eating, as a way of living, as a way of beauty, never thought about it, suddenly fall pregnant and have a kind of eureka moment of realizing, you physically realize and mentally realize that whatever is going in your body is
or on your body
is growing that baby. And everybody suddenly starts to think about what's going in. You think about it, people stop drinking, people stop smoking, and what we would like them to do is start making good choices for their skincare. It's argued between 20 to 60% of what you put on your skin absorbs in. So firstly, it becomes relevant completely naturally. People are drawn to it because their body is in such a new, absolutely 100% natural phase. The other thing is they are completely right. Like whatever goes inside will have a chance of passing down the umbilical cord. And that is really, really something to think about.
Well, it is, because one of the precursors to this podcast and one of the things Kirstie read a lot is a book called Healthy Child, Healthy World, written by Christopher Gavigan. Its subtitle is Creating a Cleaner, Greener, Safer Home. and it is a fantastic tome about all the things you should consider. But it has obviously struck a chord with a lot of people. There's contributions from eminent doctors, but even celebrities: Gwyneth Paltrow, Brooke Shields, Michelle Obama, Tom Hanks, Tobey Maguire, Kate Hudson, and our favourite Meryl Streep. I mean, they obviously care a lot.
It's not a shoddy list of people to have contribute to your book, is it?
But one of the sort of paragraphs that's worth reading out to put it in perspective is: the stark fact was reinforced in 2005 study by Environmental Working Group.
Now, if you remember from our last podcast, the EWG are an American board who have started to put together the biggest set of data on ingredients and ingredient toxicity. So that's the EWG.
That's right, and they examined cord blood from 10 babies born in US hospitals during a 2-month span. And what they found is heart-stopping. The cord blood contained an average of 200 chemicals and pollutants commonly found in the home, including mercury, flame retardants, perfluorinated chemicals from non-stick surfaces and carpets, plasticizers, pesticides, and wood preservatives, many of which are known to cause cancer and toxic to the brain. Over 200 is the average number of chemicals they found that really shouldn't be there.
Now, it is admittedly a tiny testbed, 10 babies, but still really data that people don't want to ignore. And I'm sure they are going on to do more testing, and that's just taken directly from an umbilical cord.
The relevant point is most of those are avoidable.
Yeah, and most of those are found inside your home, the place where you feel and believe is safe, and you're going to bring your children into. And so, obviously, while I was pregnant, this was one of the things I was really researching. And that book is definitely worth a read. It has stuck with me. I would say it is relatively scary. So if you're already scared during your pregnancy, you might want to take it in chunks and parts. But at the same point, I don't think we should shy away from the things that are quite scary. And one of the things that anyone who knows me knows I'm massively passionate about is the product that all pregnant people run to. Now, you can't feel bad about this. When I was first pregnant with Layla, what did you buy me, Luke Sheriff?
Bio-oil, I imagine.
Yeah, and it is the obvious baby gift. It is the obvious thing mum buys. Bio-oil is the current UK leader, without a doubt, for an oil to prevent stretch marks. There's no pregnant person who hasn't heard of it or probably has a bottle of it. Now, that occurred way before we knew enough about the ingredients, and predominantly bio-oil is a very, very, very high level paraffinium liquidum oil, which is a petroleum derivative, which in the best case scenario is just an inert, useless subject, which probably, other than providing a bit of a barrier, won't be doing anything that useful. In the worst case scenario, you have petroleum derivatives that can be absorbed into your skin and into bloodstream. And nobody seems to know this. And I had an amazing experience with a lady that, if you haven't come across, you should also research, called Imelda Burke. She's the owner of Content Beauty, and she is the curator of the most niche, best global organic and natural brands, and she often finds brands before anyone else has even ever heard of them and brings them to the UK. And she knows my dispassion, knows about my hatred for bio-oil. She writes for The Independent, she writes the Green Edit, and about a year ago now, she wrote a piece literally entitled "The Natural Brands You Think Are Natural But Are Absolutely Not." And it was amazing. They let her literally publish a list of major brands. They didn't stop her doing it. She was mesmerised. I was mesmerised. And bio-oil was her number one.
Just to point out all the notes on the book, we've talked about Healthy Child, Healthy World, Imelda Burke, Content and Wellbeing. They'll all be in the show notes at the end. So when you get to the end, you'll be able to find all the detail and do some more reading. Interestingly, Kirstie's passionate appeal for something better than bio led to us considering launching an alternative, which started off the story, which randomly ended up becoming men's skincare. However, you'll be glad to know we are in the process of producing an alternative, which is our magic everything baby oil.
We got really far down the line of producing a single SKU stretch mark alternative to bio oil. Its code name was Naya.
Yep.
Whether Naya oil ever comes into existence is still yet to be seen. But the major problem we got to is that when you take the paraffin liquid out and replace it with real ingredients,
real natural ingredients, you end up with a product that is possibly 10 times the price in terms of production value. So the ability to market that versus oil becomes very challenging.
We just couldn't get anywhere close to the price, even if we were selecting the cheapest natural seed oils. We still couldn't get close to the price,
which highlights and affirms exactly the quality of the ingredients.
Yeah, so we weren't looking.
They can produce 200 mils and sell it at retail for $9.99 or whatever the price you can get on Amazon these days. It really speaks volumes what's in it, but unfortunately they have cornered the market. But we haven't given up. We have an alternative on the way. And there are other things. So what would Kirstie suggest to use as opposed to bio?
Okay, so I'll give you my Pink's Boutique alternatives first, because that would be crazy of me not to. Within the Pink's Boutique products, the two ranges that our spas would use on you when you were pregnant is our Rose Relax range and our Escape Sweet Orange and Neroli range. Both blends are perfect pregnancy essential oil blends. And if you were making just an out-and-out pregnancy product, they are probably what you would pick. And so within those, my personal favourites and what I was using when I was last pregnant with Charlie, the Rose Hip Face and Body Scrub, which is our ultra gentle polish. I would get in the bath every night. I became obsessed about having a bath. I was like a whale in a bath. And I would every night use that to scrub my bump. And then I would get out and I would put our Rose Face and Body Balm all over. The Rose jojoba oil, if you prefer an oil, is the alternative I would use to the bio oil. So either sweet orange and neroli oil or our rose and jojoba oil. And luckily for me, I came out of both pregnancies with not a scratch, not a touch. So I was very, very happy with myself.
Which is great for you. Thinking about the rest of the world though, how much of it is the individual? Can you actually stop stretch marks? Is what these products like ball oil are saying, related to their ingredients, or is it just the fact that they're being massaged? I mean, if I'm sitting listening to this and I'm worried about stretch marks, what real results can I
Do you feel your bump's getting a bit big?
Well, I didn't go to the gym enough this week, it seems. I'd like to go twice a day.
It pretty much is the $64 million question. Can you stop stretch marks? Now, remembering that our brand is entirely about truth, I would never, ever be comfortable claiming and telling anyone that any single product I've ever seen in the world will stop them getting stretch marks. I am convinced there is a definite amount of genetics in it. What happened to your mum is a relatively good indication of what might happen to you. And my mum didn't get any stretch marks. So that is the first truth. The second thing is, it is ultimately going to depend on your body, like how supple your skin is, how small you are to start with, how big that bump actually becomes. So there are too many factors. And do I believe that a product alone can beat those? No, probably not. However, there is masses and masses and masses of evidence that you need to do everything you can to keep that skin as supple and moisturized as possible. And literally you can't moisturize it enough. So AM, PM, you need to be plowing in the oils, the balms, the creams, making sure they're the right ones, that when you look at those ingredient lists, if they do end up in your bloodstream, you are happy with them flowing through your umbilical cord and seeing baby.
Which brings us back to the beginning, which is these products, whether it be cleaning products or laundry products that are in your home, we need. It's unlikely we're going to change our habits so much we don't live without them, but it's just a case of being conscientious when you research them, when you buy them, and certainly when it comes to something you're going to massage yourself with 2 or 3 times a day, ingredients should be key, because we all believe that that is important, and the massaging is the thing that probably helps the most. So why not have the best ingredients you can and get the best result? Not to mention the glide and feel of our oils is far superior.
Yeah, without a doubt. And as always, we get the science element from Luke. He is right. There also is genuine evidence for proving that massage is very, very beneficial for stopping the stretch marks. And so by default, any rubbing of the skin is going to help. And the more you can do, the better. Plus, it's such a lovely way to connect with bump and baby. One of the most beautiful things as a therapist is doing pregnancy treatments. And when you are massaging over the bump, which you do incredibly lightly, the baby literally comes to you. It comes and plays with you. You can feel it pushing back, legs kicking. It's really beautiful.
Well, you've stolen my next question then.
Oh.
Which is, should we, I hopefully won't be pregnant anytime soon, but, should pregnant ladies be having treatments? What are the benefits? What are the risks? Is it something they should be searching out?
Okay, so first thing for spas and the spa side and the salon side, we are all governed by insurance bodies, and insurers are wary of pregnant people because there is a risk to them. So vast majority of salons and spas will say that in the first trimester, first 3 months, you can't have any detailed treatments. So any body treatments, any big facials, anything that involves a lot of work. They'll kind of contain you to maybe a manicure, probably won't even let you have a pedicure very often. There's not much. But in honesty, for most people in that first 3 months, it's when you feel at your worst. You feel tired, you feel sick. Product smells aren't always good at that point in terms of morning sickness. I remember, can you remember?
Not when you've got your own product brand and Kirstie decides she can't stand the smell of essential oils.
I absolutely hated it. I hated lemongrass, and Pink's Boutique has a lot of lemongrass. And literally, the baby comes out and I like lemongrass again. So in your first trimester, just be aware that there's probably not going to be a huge amount on offer. Whether I believe that is right or wrong, that's a different question. I think it's wrong, technically. I think as long as it's an uncomplicated pregnancy and you're okay with smells, I personally think you should be treated. But unfortunately, I can't control the insurance companies. And that's one of the pieces of work I'm doing at the moment. Trimester 2 and trimester 3, without a doubt. If you can convince the loved ones in your life to pack you off to salons and spas, then you absolutely should do. That is so good for you to get that relaxation and that time. But you need to do a little bit more research. You need to make sure that the building you are going into is set up to deal with pregnancy, that the therapists are qualified to do that you've got the right products. And obviously for me, I would need somewhere that had organic products. I'd also ask a few more questions about if you are having a massage, like what positions they're going to put you in, because different brands make different treatments and some of them are something that you might not be happy with, or you might want a specific one. So for instance, I know the Elemis treatment is on a floor on a beanbag. Like, would that work for you? I've had hydrotherm treatments where you're on a bed, which is on floating water cushions, but you are looking up at the sky, but you are essentially lying on your back. So you probably want to ask some questions about positions, how it's all delivered, and what's actually included. One of the worst treatments I had when I was pregnant, we went away for Christmas, and I won't name it because I've said it was horrible, and where it was, which was a beautiful spa, but I was utterly disappointed because the thing that was killing me was my back and my mid-back, and the therapist refused to massage my back because she said that her brand had told her that it was over-invigorating and too dangerous to massage my back. And I was pretty grumpy for the preceding hour and marched back into the chalet we were in and made Luke massage my back.
Oh, the joys. Absolutely. So, interestingly, you were saying about the aromatherapy fragrances, or in our products, not being your favourite as your nose had changed. Is there anything to be worried about in general about aromatherapy oils when you're pregnant? A lot of people worry about potential amenagogues and things like that.
What's an amenagogue, Luke?
It's something that affects your hormones, I think.
Yeah, and amenagogues are essential oils that affect bleeding predominantly. So they're worried that worst case scenario, you may cause bleeding at the wrong time during a pregnancy, with your very worst case being miscarriage. It's a really grey area. What's really clear in the UK is that as soon as people become pregnant, essential oils are put on this list of evil beings. That is totally different in other countries. If you were in France, they think you were absolutely crazy. And they would drown you in essential oils. Now, the other problem you have is that everything to do with aromatherapy, there's such competing views. If you Google which oils to use and not use, every website you check...
You were talking about witch oils, like wizards and witches then. I was like, where do we get witch oils? Okay.
Yeah. If you Google
which type of
oils to use and not use, every website will tell you a different one. So, and annoyingly, that's not to say all of them, but a lot of midwives, just to cover themselves, just say don't use them. What you need to know is the rules about essential oils. They're really about ingestion, about eating them. Don't eat them. That is not a good plan.
Is that ever a good idea?
No, never. The other thing is the rules really are about you using them. So mixing your own blends, using your own blends. If you're not an aromatherapist, I wouldn't do that at the best of times, let alone when you're pregnant. So don't start making yourself essential oil concoctions. If you're going to have them, you want the best grown organic grade versions, and you want a therapist or a brand who has blended the right ones which are allowed. Just a few that you definitely don't want to be involved with while you're pregnant.
This is on the not to use precluded list.
Yeah, which we will put in our show notes as well. So clary sage, jasmine, rosemary, juniper berry, clove, cinnamon, nutmeg, thyme. Interestingly, most of the lists to avoid are quite weird herb-based smells. And I genuinely don't think they're ones that anyone that wasn't an aromatherapist would go seeking out themselves anyway. Jasmine, maybe. That might be one that is around and available a bit more than you would expect. The flip side of this, clary sage, for instance, come 39 weeks, when you want baby out, becomes your best friend because it is used to try and induce labour. So I was putting it in some milk into a bath in those last few days. I would always trust your nose when you're pregnant. It becomes incredible. Like your sense of smell, you should be led by it. If you don't like the smell of something, avoid it. Make sure your therapist, if you're having treatments, lets you smell something. And really feel free to ask them questions. A good spa, a good salon will be able to answer your questions about the products. They should be able to tell you about the ingredients, and they should be able to make you genuinely feel safe about what is coming. There are a list of beautiful essential oils that can be helpful in pregnancy, and they're the ones that we have in our blends. Things like chamomile, mandarin, neroli, sweet orange, ylang ylang, lemon. The list goes on and on. But so My personal answer to your question, can you use aromatherapy when pregnant? Yes, but you need to listen to everything we just said.
So you've found yourself a good therapist. You've had a great treatment.
Lots of great
treatments throughout your pregnancy. And all being well, you've had a healthy pregnancy and healthy baby. What can we do to help baby in their newly formed skin?
Baby skin is incredible.
More incredible than we realised, actually, because we were discussing moisturisation and testing products the other day.
Something called CHOOL, trans-epidermal water loss, which formulators and product people talk about like we all know what it is, which is CHOOL. We all go about talking about CHOOL.
And it's all related to the gradient across your skin, the balance of fluids and osmosis and things. But obviously, if there's an imbalance, then your body tries to produce more water and you lose water in that sense. And that's what can cause oily skin sometimes. Or dry skin when it goes the other way. And what we were discussing and what we found out, which was new to us, is that babies have or are born with an imbalance purely because they have spent their entire life in an amniotic fluid which is perfectly in tune with their internal fluids and pH balance, etc. And as soon as they get born, they have this massive shock, which is why most babies have dry skin.
So have they while they're in the amniotic sac? Is there essentially no CHOOL? There's no transepidermal means coming out of the epidermis.
There's no gradient across.
So there's no water transfer or out.
Yeah, their skin hasn't had to do the job of balancing the gradient.
So when they come out, and they haven't got.
Holy moly! What is there? Like, why is there no water in it?
And that's why
it becomes dry.
I can remember when Layla was born. Within a day, the skin on her feet was peeling off in chunks.
Shrunken heads.
And that's why in those first couple of weeks, babies become so dry. Now, the other challenge you have with baby skin is that their skin, when they're born, is 5 times thinner than an adult. Problem 3...
Why they're so soft.
Problem 3 is they are like the ultimate organic connoisseur. Way more than we are. They have literally lived and breathed natural and organic while they have been inside you.
Hopefully, if you've followed the list.
And then they come out and suddenly starts their shock life of exposure to even more chemicals. And so their skin can be really sensitive and should be treated as if it's really, really sensitive and gentle. Now, here's the problem. There are very obvious baby brands on the market, and I am more than happy to name them. If you take yourself on a mental walk around Boots or any big department store, then your obvious things will be Johnson's & Johnson's, Cousins, Matey, Sudocrem,
Our Friend
Bio Oil. Now, those brands are all really, really, really old, and their formulations were put together tens of years ago. Decades. And if you start to look at the ingredients in the bottle, you will immediately find in all of those the list of ingredients that we tell you repeatedly to avoid. Those little grey cards we give out and we're happy to send to you that you should put in your wallet when you're shopping. You will literally pick up a baby bottle and it will be matching to that card. So it will have paraffin liquid, it has propylene glycol, they'll be full of bubbling agents, sodium lauryl sulfate. Yet these are meant to be going on the most gentle skins there are. So then you look at the front of the bottle, you get a little tear shape, and it will say, no tears, dermatologically tested. What else do they normally say? Hypoallergenic, kind to baby. Yeah. Look at the ingredients. Not kind. And so I would highly advise, and this is my personal opinion, that if you are pregnant, if your friends, the people you know are pregnant, do not buy them those as gifts. Do not let them buy those products. You do not want that amazingly perfect skin being exposed to those things as the first thing they are. Really, in those early weeks, you don't really want anything on their skin particularly. And still to this day, so our children are 7 and 5. Oh dear.
7 and
It's been
2.
a long day.
Yeah.
7
Unless
and...
you've got some other jokes.
7 and our children are 7 and 2. And we still don't actually put any bubbles or anything in the water of their bath. So we will wash them with a certified organic soap or body wash, but we concentrate it to literally their bottom, their hands. We're not filling the water with product. We occasionally, when I'm feeling kind, let them have Pink's Petite Rose Crystal Bath Soak to throw around.
Literally.
Sudocreme is another one on that list. It is the go-to baby bottom cream, but look at the ingredient list. Pure paraffin liquidum base. So really, in terms of what I would suggest you use on baby, very little to begin with. Water. Chamomile tea, cooled chamomile tea is beautiful. So if you ever need to kind of anything to wipe a bottom with, cotton wool chamomile tea, really good on nappy rash. And then plain seed oils, ideally the cold pressed organic versions, or look for product ranges, baby products that have got a Soil Association badge or a USDA badge or a Natru badge. Our favourite go-to, and we kind of found this out by accident, but we have a blend for our spas, which is called Pink's Blend. And it is an unfragranced oil. It's got a beautiful base. It's got organic jojoba, sunflower, and apricot. And we started to use it on Layla from day one that she was born. And it turned out to be the answer to literally everything.
And now everyone we know who has a baby gets a pot.
Yep. And they still come back and say, it is the answer to everything. So we use it for dry skin.
Everything, cool, you could say.
Yeah. Dry skin, cradle cap, itchy. It's good on mummy's tummy. I mean, it's just one bottle. And we are working on that at the moment to come out as a baby oil formula. So that one hopefully will be with you soon. In the meantime, ask us for some Pink's Blend. It hides, you can't see it because it's a spa-based product, but I'm sure if you sent us an email online or on social media, Pink's Petite One on Instagram or Pink's Boutique,
send you a sample.
Yeah, definitely.
So that has been a relatively quick, although I know Kirstie could talk for hours on this subject, run through of how organic relates to pregnancy, why it's relevant now, how we think we can help. Kirstie has actually written her first ebook, which will be out soon, so keep an eye out for that, which is on this subject, and we'll have a lot of this information in different formats.
The first part of the book, the ebook, talks about the elements we've just had of why organic, why you should think about it when you're pregnant, stretch marks, can you get rid of them, what are the organic alternatives, what should you avoid. The second part of the book, and we haven't actually really discussed it today during our podcast, is looking at different elements of planning to be a mum and a dad, of other organic elements we should be looking at. So what baby bottles should we be buying? What baby wipes? What nappies? What toys? And if those of you that are listening to this, if you're interested to hear more, we are more than happy to do a second podcast, part 2, we could call it, talking you through elements of organic baby life, which are not just skincare. That's obviously what we would deal with first, because that is our passion and our absolute skill set. But we have been an organic mummy and daddy now for 7 years, and we've done lots of research, and we have now done it twice through, and I think have done a better job the second time.
Don't tell Layla
I feel a little bit guilty about that, but in truth, that is
almost making me feel broody.
Time for time 3.
Roll on baby number 3. So that has been fantastically insightful, even for myself who knows most of this stuff already, but it's a lovely reminder of a great period in people's lives, a really exciting time, and why not make it a chance to reinvent yourself as an organic guru.
Yeah. If you are pregnant, we hope you're having a ball. And if you're not, it will end. Don't worry. And if you have friends and family members that are currently pregnant, please pass this on to them. Also, send us a quick note on social media on pinksboutique.com. We can get you Pink's Blend, the oil we were talking about. We can also get them a list of ingredients that they should be avoiding during the pregnancy and when the baby comes out. And crucially, we will update you all and look out for that ebook, because that would be a lovely thing to receive while you were pregnant.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for being my interviewee this evening. We will look forward to speaking to you all soon.